Welcome to the Immunity Community 2020, where our focus is to provide physical, mental, spiritual info and positive vibes to help you endure and adapt. We'll be bringing you experts to provide strategies to handle stress and boost your immunity. Welcome, everybody, to the Immunity Community 2020. I know we probably had a cool little intro. I'm super excited to have a personal friend of mine and colleague. We've been friends probably for a decade at this point, which is insane.
Yeah.
Life goes like that.
Yeah,
it does. This is my friends here online. This is Jason M. Goldberg. He is a licensed clinical social worker and has a private practice in Bethesda, and does everything along the lines of what I would consider in the psychological realm. I've referred a lot of, I know Jason does a lot of work with, or you do a lot of work with youth and teens, and I've been able to, you and I have had a working relationship where we're able to refer people back and forth, and I've sent several athletes and several people dealing with chronic pain, and it's terrifying that so many teens and young kids have chronic pain right now, and the psychological wear and tear in that. First of all, if you can just tell us a little bit about you and your practice first, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes.
Sure, absolutely. So I started my practice in 2003. I originally was working at the Psychiatric Institute of Washington and had worked underneath, two clinicians, one psychiatrist and one other clinician that had been working in the field for about 30 years. And so I decided to open up my practice in 2003. Working with children and adolescents. About 65% of my clientele is child and adolescent work. And then the other, 35, 40%, give or take, is pretty much adults, families. I do some couples work as well, but my passion seems to be a lot of the child and adolescent and family type work, as especially with this epidemic coming up. I'm seeing an explosion of all walks of life, from child to adolescent to even adults having a really hard time trying to manage their kids now that they're home and everyone's on top of each other. So I've been doing this for quite a while now, and have been doing it in Bethesda pretty consistently since 2003.
Well, I have to, our audience is just meeting you obviously online, but I've known you personally and professionally for a long time, and you're one of the most communicative, felt sense embodied men that I've met from, and I really appreciate our depth and level of conversations that we've had, not just about mountain biking, but we go way beyond, but I really appreciate, because we've been raising our kids at the same time as well, and we've always been able to jive back and forth about the stressors and things like that. Is there a particular approach that you take with your adolescents? As I've as a chiropractor, studied 8 million different techniques, and there's a million different things out there. Is there a specific type of work that you do, or is it just a conglomerate? How do you approach that?
Right, sure. So, a lot of it is a more eclectic style of therapies. I use a whole range of insight-oriented therapy to cognitive behavioral therapy. I do a lot of psychoeducation as well, because I think it's very important for, each and every one of us to understand the depths of things, to be able to, put more words to the understanding of maybe what's happening and what's going on with them. I'm a very different type of person when it comes to therapy, whereas there are times when I will take my clients out on walks. I'll take them to the basketball court and shoot baskets. As long as it's private and there's nobody around, then I feel like, sometimes when you're doing something else and not realizing that you're still communicating and still sharing your feelings, that I find it to be extremely helpful to a lot of the people that I work with. Certainly the children and adolescents, as well as, any sort of ADHD person. they tend to work better when like getting out of the office. So I will, choose to do that as long as it's a nice day. I don't see why I can't get out, and it's also good because you of all people, you're a very big exercise guy, and
Yeah.
Getting out there and taking a walk and exercising or shooting baskets and moving around is ideal, especially in this situation right now where we're kind of closed off to the world. There's only so much we can do right now.
Yeah, and for me, movement is medicine. And then if I could have you talking to me while I'm moving, that would be even that's like a cherry on top of the top of the sundae.
Like, and I've been listening to you a little bit, that, sitting is the new smoking, right? So
Yeah.
here what do I do half the time, or if not most of the time? I'm sitting. So, I'll get up, and thank God for these watches here that tell us to get up and move a little bit. And so that's why I will sometimes take it out of my office in hopes that I can get out and I can get moving myself and continue to remain healthy.
And I've adapted to basically the standing position versus my sitting position for this.
And right now I'm sitting, and then there's times where I've got to do my own.
Yeah.
Propping it up, and I can stand here too.
Now you look like Jack of the Beanstalk right now.
Right? For this purpose, I'm gonna remain seated.
No worries. So I know, because I've really appreciated and shared a lot with you about kids, teens, adolescents, and that is like your wheelhouse, so to speak. Can you speak to really what's going on right now with this pandemic and the pervasive fear, which to me, it's a legitimate fear. People are afraid of actually getting this virus, and some of those perceived fears of life completely changing. You had mentioned before we started talking about grieving. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that, we're in a state right now where we are grieving our freedom. And what's sad about that is that there's so many routines. Our regular routines are all completely cut off right now. We're struggling with a drop in meaningful activities, any sort of sensory stimuli or social engagement. Even the introvert, who's been practicing this for years, at some point they are starting to struggle themselves in regards to we're social creatures. So at some point we do need to have some sort of social engagement, and that's kind of cut off right now. As well as, for older people, it's that financial strain of not being able to work, or, having to shut down business for a little while. That's important as well, let alone that lack of access to typical coping strategies. And for some people, it's going to the gym. For other people, it's attending religious services, which is something that, we're just not capable of doing right now. A lot of times I am seeing people that are scared of contracting the illness, as well as spreading the illness. And I think that we are having fear. We're having anxiety. I've seen so many kids where hey, I'm doing really good right now. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks in, I'm starting to see this slow shift of people starting to get depressed, starting to get bored. They're getting sad. They're getting lonely. I think it's important for us to be able to label it. I think it's important for us because I think there's a lot of people out there that feel like if I stick my head in the sand and I forget about this, then I won't put a label on it and it won't have power. I think when we have more meaning and more understanding of what's going on in the world, I think it actually creates power for ourselves, and it gives everyone this opportunity because we're all in this together right now.
Yeah,
not just one person.
For those of us who are emotionally stunted, can you express or explain more about labeling and really how that is a tactic to help understand what we're going through ourselves?
Yeah. So as I was saying, I think people fear putting a label on it.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, and then we get confused as to maybe what we're actually feeling. And I think that one of the hardest things for me and my job is to get people to really understand what they're actually feeling.
Yeah.
No one can really tell you how to feel. The only thing I can help do is help correct that. So if one seems very angry, maybe they're not really angry. Maybe they're just frustrated with the situation because Governor Hogan has said everyone must stay at home.
Yeah.
And so people start getting angry with the fact that they can't go out and they can't do anything. You can still go outside. And that's one of the things that I will talk about a little bit later, is that part of our coping skill is getting outside every day. Obviously, unless it's raining, then or the weather's bad, then maybe it might be harder, but getting out, you can still exercise outside. Parks, I think, are still available to take walks, hikes, biking. As long as you keep your distance from everybody, then I think that, it would be relatively okay for you to be able to do that. But I think that a lot of times we misinterpret some anxiety as depression, and they kind of bleed in together a little bit in that regard. So, to be able to kind of label it and to be able to kind of talk about it with other people. I think one of the things that I'll say later as well is we've got to get on the phone. I feel like stop the texting.
Well, you could let's just jump right into it. So just to kind of peel off that, labeling an emotion is like, I feel sad, or I feel angry, or I feel depressed. Like, this is what I'm actually feeling. And then go ahead. Like, I definitely, because you had mentioned going outside on a daily basis. Just bring it at us.
It's okay for us to be sad. It's okay for us to be angry. It's okay for us to worry. I would say constant worry, constant sadness, constant loneliness is obviously not a good thing. But because we're all in this together, it gives us power to be able to talk to other people about how we're feeling, as well as for other people to kind of help normalize it and say, oh my gosh, I'm feeling the same way. So let's plan to do a Zoom call. Let's plan to do a FaceTime. Any sort of way for us to be able to connect with people, I think, is going to be very important.
So you're suggesting get on the phone or Zoom over texting?
Absolutely. Because
my thumbs are killing me lately. So,
I mean, the way I look at it is before, you can pick and choose if you want to actually communicate with people.
Right.
And so here we are texting in the corner because we choose to do that because we don't want to actually go face to face with somebody. But because now we have such a lack of communication with people and a lot of missing face to face interaction, and even person to person, like in-person communication is lacking unless you're 6-10 feet away, holding the dogs on the corner of the street type of thing.
I actually found myself at the supermarket with an extra 10 to 15 minutes behind the glass talking to the person, just because I wanted to have interaction with somebody. I'm like, dude, I need something else. I got to talk to somebody else besides my ex-wife and my children. So,
and I think it's also very important. One of the things that I tell my own kids is I want you to get in touch with 3 people on a daily basis, whether that's playing video games with them and you're on a headset and you're talking to them the whole time, getting on a FaceTime or some sort of video chat in some way. To me, I think that's really important because, as I was saying, for us to go back and be texting while we actually can speak to people and be around people, that's your decision. But because you don't have a choice right now and we have to socially distance ourselves, this is the next best thing for us to do, is to be able to get in a live face-to-face communication. I mean, it's not something that I recommend, for the adults to be going out drinking. That's one of the coping skills. Drinking and drugs probably is not the best thing for people to be doing right now. But I have been hearing people doing some virtual happy
hours. Yeah.
And there's like 4 or 5 people on Zoom, and I've walked in after a day of work online here, because I do a lot of my work pretty much teletherapy right now. Is I'll walk in and my wife's on the phone with 4 of her friends. In fact, even your ex-wife was on one of them.
Yeah.
And they're like, at the end, they're like, we so needed this. Like, I'm so glad we did this. And so to me, one, it's really important.
I even rode, a buddy of mine lives in Seattle, and we were riding the Peloton together at the same time. And
screen itself.
Yes. Well, we weren't, you have that capability. We weren't, just because we're sitting there sweating and moving,
Right.
but like high-fiving each other electronically and just texting after and before. So it's really cool to just, obviously I'm adapting and doing the best that I can.
Yeah. And with the Peloton, I think you can even like challenge each other to
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
Certain workouts and things like that. And I think that that's just another way of kind of pushing, ourselves. One of the other things, of course, is we should not be sitting in front of the TV and watching all the news and trying to consume all the news. It's hard. There's so much news out there.
Yeah.
And I think we really need to pick and choose, what is really reliable sources. And right now, we're looking at probably the CDC or the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services, that's the SAMHSA, websites and things like that, where you will probably get more reliable information, because there's just so much information coming out.
That's super helpful, man, because, the other stuff is, there's just a lot of
Scary.
TV. There's TV and there's tactics that are involved to get you watching and more scared. I agree.
Absolutely. One of the other things that I think is highly important, for all of us, is we must keep a routine.
Awesome.
And one of the things that I'm trying to do, very much kind of like the college kids, is, hey, maybe it's Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, you have a certain routine, but then you switch it up a little bit, Tuesdays and Thursdays, just to kind of, but maintain the routine. So if your workout was, at 9 in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, maybe Tuesdays and Thursdays, you go out and you do a walk outside, and then you come in and you do your workout at like 11, or you do it at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Just to kind of be able to break things up. But yeah, I think it's really important to be able to keep a routine going, because we've lost our routine. As I said,
of course,
we're completely losing our routine. Staying connected virtually with everyone, I think, is very important as well. Being able to spend time outside is very important. To be able to do. Leveraging that power of technology is important, like you're doing. Like, you're texting your friend, you're on the Peloton, you're FaceTiming him. Like, to me, it's really important for us to be able to kind of do stuff like that to kind of stay connected. Even reaching out to people, checking in on your parents, checking in on any grandparents that are around. I think people feel good about themselves, altruistically, to be able to, reach out and say, is everything all right? Hey, I have to go to the store. If there's something you need, let me know. I'm happy to pick it up. Being altruistic in that way. And we also have to look at, when we socially distance ourselves right now, we are altruistically helping our society and our world.
That's a good point.
By maintaining that social distance, because I don't know if the numbers are correct in Korea and China. They seem like they're slowing it down. I just heard that California and I think Washington have started to really slow the spread down.
That's awesome.
So to me, I'm trying to find things that are helpful for people, and I'm trying to kind of create some more hope here, because, when we get all that bad news, or we're watching the local news, the news is selling,
Yeah, for sure.
It's selling toilet paper. It's, I don't know how, but, it's selling a lot of, fear in people.
Yeah, of course.
Another great thing, I think, is to create some sort of gratitude journal, to
Awesome.
think about and to write things down. Some of the things that I say to a lot of people that are struggling is, think about 3 things you're grateful for.
Yeah.
And that gratitude, like, what could you do to on a daily basis that could be found, in some sort of gratitude, like, hey, Dad, I'm going to wash your car for you. Oh my God, that's great. Like, I appreciate it. I'm
going to share that one with my teenage daughter.
Yeah. And both, right? Then they can kind of get out and they can kind of wash the car. They can pick up the phone and call their friends just to see how they're doing.
Yeah.
And what I find with a lot of the adolescents is it's really awkward for them to pick up the phone and call each other.
I know.
All they do is text.
Yeah.
But are more willing to do the FaceTime, or the Skype, or whatever. Whatever platform you want to use. So to me, I find it extremely a big gratitude would be reaching out to people, checking in with them, seeing how they're doing. I certainly got like 3 or 4 friends of mine that we're checking in several times a week just to see how we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, just to kind of be able to connect with one another, you know.
That's awesome. I love
That's
it.
huge.
Well, you've filled our cups with some really good tactics. Anything that you can think of? Any last tactics? Because you give us some really good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so for starters, obviously, you know, a few other things would be sleep. Sleep is huge.
Yeah.
You know, if we're not getting our sleep, then anxieties run high, depressions run high. And, you know, in a world where there's a lot of anxiety and depression going on right now, I think sleep is one of the most major things.
Awesome.
The thing that I say to almost every single one of my clients is, how often do we sleep on a daily basis? Typically, let's just make it easy, 8 hours, right? That's a third of our day. It's the only activity in this world that we do a third of the day. Even if we go to work, we're not working a full 8 hours, right? Like if work you might be doing, but you're not hands-on, you know, doing chiropractic 8 hours straight, nonstop.
Right.
Like,
of course,
you're at labs, you're looking at skeletal, you know,
stuff. Yeah.
And all stuff. You're coordinating with other people to talk. I mean, and it's still work, but it's not your hands-on. You're not cracking everyone you know, adjusting on everyone, you know, 8 hours a day nonstop. So we're not eating, we're not drinking, we're not, you know, going to the bathroom 8 hours a day. We're not shopping at 8 hours a day. It's the one thing. So to me, it's one of the most important things that we need to do. And I'm sure during this time, people are getting fearful, and it's making it really hard for people to sleep. So I tell people, grab a sound machine. You can get one on your phone, you know, so you can have the ocean going, something that's going to resemble some sort of calmness for you. Exercise is huge. It's a lot harder because the gyms aren't there. So, you know, for people that are trying to work out and lift weights, at this point, I'm telling them, you know, body weight is huge. Lots of, I've actually started doing stuff myself, and you'd be proud of me. I'm like almost 90 days into, you know, doing my own workouts of core strengthening.
Awesome.
And
nice work.
I felt a change in my own body in that regard.
Yeah, I've definitely taken myself personally and my kids, like that's a habit that we're working on is moving, some kind of movement every day. And Amazon delivered me a pull-up bar, and I got that in the house. So because I can't do it on the jungle gym anymore. Right. And that's like, I encourage everybody listening out there, like, this doesn't have to be a time where we get lazier and more sedentary. We can actually use this as a spark of inspiration to get in our best shape. I've picked out 2 areas of my own fitness that were weak for me, and I focused on getting better at pull-ups and getting better at doing core work, which you just are doing too. That's great.
Right, which is huge. You know, other aspects, of course, in regards to trying to maintain, and I know that, you know, I've been watching lots of different videos, and I'm looking at the immunity community that you've helped start and create, and there's just a lot of good stuff, and some of the stuff I'm even sharing is overlapping a lot of different stuff. But you know, other aspect would be avoid, you know, alcohol and drugs right now in order to cope. To me, you know, that's just one way of sticking our head in the sand, and not, you know, facing what's happening and what's going on with this pandemic. I highly recommend telehealth meetings, teletherapy meetings. If somebody is already into doing some sort of psychotherapy to some degree, you know, I'm sure that everyone is pretty much moved to the teletherapy realm of things. You know, it's especially hard for some people because, you know, usually they like that face-to-face connection with somebody, that the handshake, which we're not even doing.
Just can't do it. Yeah.
Right. We can't do it. So, I even put out on Facebook, like, hey, if anyone needs me, I'm doing teletherapy, or I'm meeting people 6 feet away. Right.
Awesome. So that's
like,
cool.
I'm going into my office as I need to, and I'm taking a walk with them 6 feet away. To at least start the dialogue and get to know them briefly. And then I'm removing myself back to teletherapy in order for them to, you know, engage with me in the beginning and then, you know, kind of get started with the teletherapy. I feel like teletherapy is, you know, some people are a little bit cautious about it. If it's done appropriately, you know, some people, you know, I believe WhatsApp is pretty good because it's encrypted. I believe Zoom is encrypted. You know, there's other ways for us to be able to do it so that, you know, and I believe that you're still getting just as good as work because I still see you. I still see your mannerisms. I can see your face. Yeah. I can see your body language, especially if some people kind of sit further back, you know, that type. Yeah. Then you can see more body language. Yeah, absolutely. In that regard. What else? Big things. Let's not try to catastrophize things, right? If we catastrophize things, if people aren't familiar with catastrophizing, we're just blowing things up out of proportion.
Is that like Chicken Little, like the sky is falling?
Yeah, absolutely.
Got it.
You know, and the reality is that I think that a lot of the news that we are listening to can catastrophize things, you know. And I think what's more important is for us to focus on what you can do and accept the things you can't change, right? So we can accept that we can socially isolate ourselves and socially distance ourselves. You know, like for instance, I'm trying to coordinate a kind of a hangout with some of my friends, and I'm thinking about doing like a tent party where we'll sit in our tent in the backyard. They'll come put a tent up in our backyard, you know, 10 feet away. You know, and we can kind of all just hang out in our tents and just
I like that idea.
Eat, and, you know, do whatever, but it's not anything that's kind of close together. So
that's adaptation, brother. I love it. That's
right?
Great. Yeah.
I'm always trying to think outside the box.
Yeah. Amazing.
And you know, the things you can't change, we can't change this virus right now. It has to run its course. And, you know, the best thing we could do, which is that altruistic thing that I was saying, was, hey, we're doing this social distancing for a reason. You know, otherwise you know, it would be running even more rampant, and we're not even there yet. But
yeah, I know.
Other thing would be that gratitude journal that I was referring to earlier.
Got it.
I think that that's really an important piece. There is a free app called PTSD Coach. Okay. A free application. And the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs uses it for their own National Center for PTSD. And the Department of Defense's National Center for Telehealth and Technology. They're allowing that to be free. What this does here in regards to this type of app, and once again, it's the PTSD Coach, is it will give you exercises. We fail to realize how important, like, you know, so many people talk about yoga. I'm sure that there was a whole bunch of yoga things going on the immunity community. Yeah. And yoga is huge when it comes to breathing and breathing through things. And sometimes I think even though we are breathing, I think sometimes we forget how to breathe correctly. Yeah. You know, and I always feel like, right? I always feel like, you know, if you can get that diaphragm going, 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out, typically is a great breathing technique. People who have the iPhones and things like that, the Apple Watches, there is an app, or it's already on there, where you could push the breathing, and you can change your breathing so that it's a 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. From the literature that I've been reading, it's the 6 seconds out that's better, because with the 6 seconds out, it actually causes the parasympathetic nervous system to kick in, and that's what helps calm us down. Yeah, that's awesome. So that seconds out is a really important piece. That's 4 seconds in, and it's a slow 4 seconds in. You know, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, and to try to get that timing down right is kind of hard to do unless, you know, and you can do your counting with it, because that's also a kind of a form of meditation, kind of clearing things out, that you're just focusing on the breathing and the counting aspects. And that's kind of, if you stick to the counting, then you're not really thinking about anything else but the counting and the breathing. This PTSD Coach as well does positive imagery, which I think is huge for people to kind of get into some sort of positive imagery. You know, for me, it's you know, lying out on the beach, or it's skiing down a mountain. Those are my two, you know, very relaxing, positive mental imageries that I tend to do. Awesome. As well as some muscle relaxation techniques, you know, progressive muscle relaxation, things like that, where you're working with from your hair all the way down to your toes. And if you're not fully, calm by then and relaxed, you can come all the way back up to the top again.
Great. But well, I think we should, I got to wrap us up for now. But I would love to have you back and maybe walk us through some of these experiences, which would be really cool to actually maybe put our audience through that. And then for those of you who are listening and tuned in, if you can chime in and add some of the, not just the physical activities that you've been doing, but some of the psychological activities, because that's really important right now, is our psychological health, because all of us are shifting rapidly to adapt and the overwhelming amount of anxiety and fear. I mean, it's there.
And the fact that if we don't get enough exercise, then our mental health is going to get worse, and I think it's important for us, to keep our mental health intact during this difficult time. And that's why I think it's important for us to move into some sort, like you said, you got to keep moving, we need to figure out something to do, to kind of keep ourselves active during this time that we are kind of held in our homes and right around our homes and things like that. But
awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jason. You have given us a really like a big full basket of things that we can all work with here. So
and I like the fact that you said if we can have other people chiming in, because this is all about brainstorming, right?
Yeah,
so
of course.
Some have different activities they're doing. Let's share it. Let's get it out there to the community, and let's be the community together.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Thank you very much. And I'll put all of your stuff. We'll load that in. If people need to find you, they'll know where to find you. All right, man. Thank you so much, Jason. Take care.
Brian. Take care. Stay safe and stay healthy.
You too, man.